And Yet I Know Not. A Good Omens fanfiction. Written by Waywarder. Read aloud by SkyAsimaru. If you enjoy this podfic, you can check out the original story on Archive of Our Own. If you would like to hear more of my recordings or see some of my own work, you can find me through the pen and screen name of SkyAsimaru. And Yet I Know Not. Summary. Sometimes stories can be a bit much, can't they? The angel said softly. A play, one of the funny ones, of course, sparks something in Crowley. Aziraphale is there to help them navigate it. When that I was and a little tiny boy, with hey-ho, the wind and the rain, 1602. It was Candlemas, and Crowley was feeling twitchy and restless. He sauntered, as he did, through Middle Temple Hall on two promises. One, the promise of a comedy. Fucking finally, Will. Two, the promise of an angel. Said angel had never been known to resist an opening night, no matter what the genre or the title, so he was certain to be here. Crowley just had to be patient. Again, some more. Had to be patient, like carving out the meat of his own cheek with the two sharp teeth that felt too big for his mouth. "Pardon me, sir," some near-to-drunk reveler careened right into Crowley, splashing his black velvet doublet with stuff. "Ah!" Crowley hissed and blinked and made certain the fool's tankard would stay empty for the rest of the night. It wasn't just the bump. He was a fucking demon. He could stay aloft on his own two bloody feet when the occasion called for it. Oh, but it was a sophisticated age, wasn't it? Sir, madam, m'lady, m'lord. Crowley hated it, hated the manners, hated the fucking presumptions. Out of something Crowley deeply wished to identify as spite, the demon ducked into a corner and snapped his fingers and transformed his doublet and hose into a lavish gown of a similar dark material. He caught the reflection of his face in a window, and something unspoken pulled at his unnecessary guts at the sight before him, at the beard and the narrow face against the lace neckline and the rope of pearls that had unexpectedly accompanied his dress, the shining white against the fathomless black. Now, wasn't that a sight? He snapped again, and there was his face again, and yet not his face. Something rounder and smoother and beardless. The next drunken human who knocked into Crowley, there was always a next drunken human, wasn't there, would leer and call him m'lady. And Crowley would hate it and like it all in one breath. And it made him curious, and it made him tired. Before he could re-emerge from the darkness, a second figure slipped into the shadows beside him. And somehow the shadows seemed to fade, to dim, to begin to glow. "Aziraphale," Crowley breathed, caught a little off guard. He liked to find the angel first, always. He liked to concoct what he was going to say. He liked to be in control. To be found like this, in a dress in the shadows, pearls at his throat, and doubt in his heart. Well, it wasn't the plan, was it? "Hello, my dear," Aziraphale said, his river-blue eyes warm on Crowley's. If the angel had an opinion about Crowley's new corporation, his kind, familiar gaze did not betray him. Crowley felt the helpless need to explain anyway. "Spilled something on my doublet." Aziraphale nodded. "I quite understand, and if I may say, you look lovely, Crowley." Demons don't blush, so don't read anything into it, yeah? Aziraphale offered his arm, which was new. A pang at Crowley's heart reminded him Aziraphale would never offer him his arm. Just her? Because that was how it went, wasn't it? Lords offered their arms to ladies, and in no other permutation. Crowley took it anyway. "Shall we?" "Lead the way, angel." They walked together, Crowley's hand upon Aziraphale's arm, into the hall. The show was just beginning, and Crowley fixed his eyes fiercely upon the stage, ready for a story to whisk him away from his own mind for 2 hours or so. And it was a nice story. Shipwrecks and funny drunks and mistaken identities. Crowley laughed and tried not to feel it in his very marrow when he caught Aziraphale glancing happily at him. But then there was a scene, a moment, just a line, a paltry collection of words. "I am all the daughters of my father's house," spoke the actor on stage, "and all the brothers too, and yet I know not." "Crowley?" Aziraphale whispered. Crowley didn't realize he'd been holding his breath, didn't realize there were tears streaming down his face, until a horrifying whimper escaped his throat. Didn't hear or see Aziraphale snap, didn't know what had happened at all, didn't feel the shift of magic in the air until they were alone in some other place. Aziraphale's some other place, Crowley registered thickly as he took in the warmth of the room, the towers of pages, the empty cups, the neatly made, surely unused bed. Crowley had never been here before, but it was nearly just exactly as he had always pictured it. A mug of something warm was being pressed into his hands. Aziraphale's even warmer fingers lingered on his own. "Sometimes stories can be a bit much, can't they?" the angel said softly. "I don't know why I'm falling to pieces like this," Crowley murmured. "It's not important." "Oh, it absolutely is tremendously important," Aziraphale said in a voice fiercer than Crowley usually heard. He gently sank to his knees before Crowley now, his own hands still wrapped around Crowley's against the mug. "'Cause it doesn't matter for us, you know." Crowley's voice cracked at the question. "Oh, what doesn't, my dear?" Crowley gestured at his gown, which now seemed ridiculous, embarrassing even. What had he been thinking? "What we wear, what our bodies do, what we look like," Crowley tried to explain. "But the humans fucking care. They seem to care so much, but it just seems to me there must be others out there like, what was their name?" "Viola?" Aziraphale offered. "Yeah, Viola." Crowley nodded.
But that's the thing. Viola or Cesario. What if they really like being Cesario best? And what if that's not okay for that asshole Duke? What if it's not okay to anyone else but Cesario?
"Oh, Crowley," Aziraphale whispered, because he was really crying now. His lithe body racked itself with sobs as he considered this unfriendly, strict world that surely more than one Cesario must tread. He thought of what it must feel like to want, to need, to belong to a different corporation, but not have magic at one's fingertips to do anything about it. And, like nearly every fucking thing else, it was unfair. It was unfair, and it hurt. And Crowley felt torn between going on a rampage and curling up in bed and sleeping away this terrible time.
What do we do for them, Aziraphale?
Crowley finally asked, studying their still-held hands. "We protect them," Aziraphale said simply. "Always." Crowley looked up and saw the burning truth in Aziraphale's eyes, felt something in his heart that he always felt, that heaven and hell could do what they will. Fuck 'em both. Aziraphale and Crowley would pick up their pieces, would look out for the ones no one else seemed to notice or recognize. Crowley lifted a hand from Aziraphale and snapped his fingers. He kept his beautiful, ornate black dress, but he allowed his beard to return. He even removed his glasses and slipped them into the folds of his gown. There was something about this moment, and he did not want to hide anything anymore. "Perhaps we show them," Aziraphale said, before leaning forward to place a soft kiss on the tip of one of Crowley's fingers. "If I, whoever I am, might interject?" They made it back to the hall before the play ended, and I can't speak for every member of the audience, but does it matter if I can? Here is what I know in my deepest heart. There was some human there, brought to tears of truth and doubt all at once over Cesario's words, and it meant something to them that evening to look out over a sea of heads and to discover Crowley, splendid and beautiful and handsome and glorious eyes, blazing magnificently ahead at the stage, daring anyone to challenge them. And maybe they didn't know yet, you know? I'm not sure Crowley even knew. But what is knowing? Perhaps it is enough sometimes to feel a wild, beating, certain thing in your soft heart, and to look out and find someone else who can help you confirm your heart's own truth. This isn't really a part of the story, but I hope that for you. A great while ago the world begun, with hey, ho, the wind and the rain. But that's all one. Our play is done, and we'll strive to please you every day. The end.
Thank you for reading.
Please drop by the archive and let the author know what you thought of their work.